God cannot do three things. He cannot change, he cannot lie, and he cannot let anyone into his heaven unless they are born again. Teaching you more about God, this is your good friend in Carriacou, the Harbour Light.
This is the Case Hour on the Harbour Light.
The Adventures of Sailor Sam. Hear the creak of the rigging? Listen to the wind whip the sails. Yes, boys and girls, Sailor Sam's big schooner, the Porpoise, plunges swiftly through the waves, eager to serve her master. Where's she going? Wish I could tell you, but we'll have to find out from Sailor Sam, an adventurous young man whose hunt for scientific truth takes him anywhere. Yes, anywhere. And with him go his two young cousins, Buddy and Nancy. Aye, aye, mate, it's full speed ahead now for seafaring thrills with Sailor Sam! The Porpoise is racing across the sea with all her canvas spread. Her decks are cleared for action. She's pursuing the killer whale in daylight. Ole mans the wheel. Harpoon Johnny and Buddy stand by the harpoon gun. Sam stands on the bow of the racing schooner watching the killer whale through binoculars.
Can you still see him, Sam?
Yes, buddy. Apparently he has no desire to battle in daylight.
I think you're right, Skipper.
I think we may as well quit chasing him. He's putting an awful lot of distance between the Porpoise and himself right now.
He must have been swimming along at half speed for a while. We almost ran him down.
Yeah, you're right. Well, I'll have Ole come about and we'll head back to port.
Have you got an idea, Skipper?
Yes, an idea that may fix Mr. Killer Whale for good. Buddy, will you take the dinghy ashore and pick up Hazel and Nancy? Maybe that'll soothe their ruffled feelings at being off the Porpoise for the showdown battle, which we didn't have.
Sure thing, Sam. I'll be glad to.
Oh, now we get a good meal for a change.
You said it. Wherever our skipper learned to cook, I don't know.
Are you guys by any chance making fun of my cooking?
Perish the thought.
Nay, Captain. It's not us. It's our stomachs that are complaining.
Sam just treats us like the ancient Grecian gods.
What do you mean by that, Ole?
He serves us a burnt offering every time we eat.
Okay, I give up. Buddy, you can bring the chief cook and her assistant on board.
Aye, aye, sir.
Aye, aye, sir. Aye, aye, sir.
Now we'll all stop losing weight.
I hope you understand we're only having a little fun, Skipper.
Certainly, Johnny. Life wouldn't be worth much if we couldn't have some laughs, even at my expense.
That's a mighty fine attitude, Sam.
Will you fellas come to the main cabin? I want to show you how my booby trap works.
Hiya, ladies.
Well, hello, Buddy. What brings you ashore? Playing Robinson Crusoe?
Yes, big brother, fighter of killer whales. What brings you ashore?
Great whopping goldfish. What kind of reception is this? What's eating you two?
I'll tell you what's eating us, Buddy. I know why you came ashore. You're just sick and tired of Sam's cooking and you want a decent meal.
Well, that's right. Only Sam would like to have you aboard.
He would, huh? Just for a while, I suppose. Then we'll be back on the beach while you, Sir Galahads, go out to battle the mighty monster of the deep.
Well, if you excuse me, ladies, I'll go back to the Porpoise and report to the captain.
You do that very thing, Buddy. Give the captain my compliments. And tell him to do his own cooking.
That's a mighty complicated-looking contraption you got there, Sam.
Oh, it's not so fancy, Johnny. Just a simple device to receive a shortwave impulse. Then the impulse will ignite the 25 pounds of TNT on the floating mine.
That should give Mr. Killer Whale a surprise of his life.
Well, are you sure it'll work, Sam?
Well, we'll try this one out as soon as I finish putting it together here.
How do you plan to fix the trap, Sam? One or two of these won't do much good.
Well, that depends on how close the big fella comes. We'll make enough to put equidistant in a half-mile circle, and then the porpoise will cruise inside the circle.
It sounds good, Sam. But how do we know when to set it off?
We'll watch the perimeter of the circle with night binoculars. Buddy will stand by the shortwave transmitter. When we spot the monster surfacing, we'll watch where he breaks water. When we think he's close to the charges, I'll give Buddy the word, and he'll discharge them by pressing the sending key.
Say, a couple of those 25-pound charges of TNT ought to put a good-sized lump on that feller's head.
Aye, that it will, Ole. I suppose then, while he's seeing stars, we'll close in and let him have it with the harpoon gun.
That's the general idea. What do you think of it, fellas?
Well, I think it'll work fine. It's about the only way we can keep the porpoise from taking another beating and still get that crazy killer.
It's a good idea, Sam. Only I wonder how the evil one will feel when the sea bounces up and knocks his teeth out.
Not being a killer whale, I wouldn't know. Well, this shortwave fuse device is completed. Let's go on deck and pack up 25 pounds of TNT.
Hello, Captain. I've come to report.
But, where's Hazel and Nancy? I thought you were
They're
going to
still
bring...
on the beach.
But you were going to bring them aboard.
I tried.
What do you mean you tried?
Well, it seems that the chief cook and her bottle washer have a small amount of mutiny in their blood.
Oh, I suppose they're angry because we wouldn't let them stay aboard when we chased the whale.
That seems to be the complaint, sir. Hazel says you can cook your own meals. That remark is sent with her compliments, sir.
Okay, buddy. I guess that means I'll go ashore and talk with them myself.
Maybe I should write a book. Mutiny on the Porpoise.
Before you start, give Ole and Johnny a hand, will you?
Aye, aye, sir. Be glad to.
You fellas wouldn't want to eat my cooking again, would you? Or do you want to try Ole's cooking?
Make for the shore like a speedboat.
Now look, Hazel and Nancy, what's there to be angry about? You both know I asked you to stay here on the beach for your own safety.
Never mind that soft soap, Captain Stone. We've been with you in more danger than there is in fighting the killer whale.
I can't agree with you on that, Hazel. This is a different kind of danger. And I have enough responsibility with the rest of the crew without worrying about you two. Tell me, can you swim 5 miles?
I guess Sam's right, Hazel. Besides, he's got enough troubles without having us act up.
Well, I guess you're right, honey. But you mark my words, Sam Stone. Someday I'm going to get good and angry at you, and I'm going to stay angry. You'd like us to believe that we just can't take care of ourselves.
That's not it at all, Hazel. Just to show you my heart's in the right place, I'll let you ladies put out to sea with us this time when we fight the monster.
Oh, that's wonderful, Sam. Thanks a lot.
Sometimes you amaze me, young man. Why are you allowing us to go along this time, and you wouldn't before? The danger's just as great, isn't it?
I've rigged a contraption that should reduce the danger. It's on that assumption that I'm allowing you to go along.
Well, isn't that nice? You're allowing us to go along.
Hazel, don't forget that I'm the captain of this schooner. What I decide is what a reasonable course of action is. That's what'll be done, and you'll abide by my decision. Well?
Well, I'm sorry, Sam. I'm afraid I let myself get carried away with the situation.
Well, I'm glad that you two have had your say. Let's get going. I'm hungry.
Me too.
Feed the boys well, ladies. This may be the last square meal they have until we destroy the killer whale. Have you got your instructions straight now, buddy?
I think so. I stand here at the foremast where I can help Johnny with the gun and also explode the TNT mines when you give the order.
That's right.
When you say so, I just press down this key and the radio waves will set them off.
Very good. Any more instructions?
Yes. After the mines go off, I jerk these wires out of their clamps so no more radio waves can be transmitted.
Good boy. Johnny, how's the mine coming along?
It's in shipshape, Captain. This float will hold twice this weight and still keep the antenna high and dry.
You and Ole did a nice job.
Thanks, Sam. But we got to do a good job this time. Or the killer whale will do a good job on us.
All right, you are. Lower the mine in the dinghy, and I'll row out in the middle of the harbor and test it out.
You get in a small boat, Sam. Ole and I'll lower it to you.
Fine. Be careful of the antenna, though, and the receiver. It can't take too much knocking around.
Okay, Sam. We'll watch it.
Don't envy you, Sam. Having 25 pounds of TNT in the dinghy with you isn't any joke.
Oh, I'll be all right. Just don't play around with that sending key.
Well, Sam's got the mine afloat.
That's good. I'll breathe easier when he's away from that pile of explosive.
Sam's coming back. I better get ready to set off the charge. I'll connect the short-wave key.
Yeah, but you be careful, young man.
I will, Ole.
Hey, buddy, look where you're stepping.
Buddy, let go of the key.
Oh, jeepers. I didn't do it on purpose.
Praise the Lord that TNT didn't go off.
That's the truth. We'd have lost a mighty good skipper.
Ahoy on deck! What's the matter? See a ghost?
Oh, nothing, Sam. But Buddy tripped.
He did, eh? Well, tell Buddy to turn on the generator in the radio shack while I come aboard.
Generator?
You mean the current wasn't on?
Now he tells us, after we nearly had a heart attack.
It's all right, fellas. No damage done.
Not to you, Sam, but I'm ready to have a nervous breakdown or something.
Go turn the generator on, Buddy, and then I'll let you test out the mine. How are you feeling now, Buddy?
Fine, but I sure got a scare.
I know you did. But you learned what it means to be careful, didn't you?
I sure did.
Okay. All set, fellas, for the test?
Okay, I'm ready, Sam.
When I give the word, you press down on the key, Buddy.
Okay, Sam.
Now.
It worked, Sam.
Yes, Buddy, it worked. Now we'll see if it'll stop Mr. Killer Whale.
For 3 days and 3 nights, the fellows work feverishly to prepare their TNT mines. Sam's busy fingers make the shortwave fuse detonator. Ole, Johnny, and Buddy make the floats and load them with 25 pounds of TNT. The fellows work with energy born of purpose. The purpose? To destroy the mad fish that's devastated the fishing fleet and deprived the people of their living. Finally, darkness comes in the evening of the 4th day. The porpoise slips quietly out to sea. Her decks covered with mines, the fellows lay the mines in a half-mile circle.
The mines are all afloat, Skipper.
Fine. That was good work, fellas. A terrific job.
Well, what do we do now, Sam? Wait?
Yes, Johnny? We'll just wait.
Yes, Sam, that's all you can do. Wait. Wait for sudden death and destruction to erupt from the ocean. At any moment, tons of fury will attack the waiting schooner. Will Sam's trap do the job? To find out the answer, you'd better be on the quarterdeck for more seafaring thrills with Sailor Sam!
What's this old post?
What's that?
Say, the thing talks.
Sure, I'm the listening post.
The listening post?
Yep. For years and years I've stood in this spot. I've seen much. I've heard much. And in my old wooden heart are stories.
That's right, boys and girls. Stories aplenty, crammed with fun and adventure. Crowd up close now and put your ears to the listening post.
Hi, boys and girls. We're reading My Friend Flicka by Mary O'Hara. You remember that Ken McLaughlin, living on a Wyoming ranch with his parents and his brother Howard, longs so to have a colt of his own. Howard has one. He spends so much time thinking about it that his grades have suffered, and he's been sent up to his room to catch up on his work. Walking upstairs, he had noticed and thought about a picture in his room, and under it were these words: "Entreat me not to leave thee, nor to return from following after thee. For whither thou goest, I will go, and where thou lodgest, I will lodge." It was a picture of a desert land, and a man stood as if waiting to go, looking at the maiden for whom he was waiting. But she had run back to throw her arms around a woman, and there they stood, arms about each other. And the verse in the corner was what she was saying. They were dressed in long, draped, brightly colored shawls. "Entreat me not to leave thee," he murmured, liking something about the way the words made his voice rise and fall. Besides, there was something in this picture that the other pictures didn't have, something completely grown up and mysterious and a little exciting. "Entreat me..." He jumped and ran back to the bed when he heard quick steps across the kitchen floor below. Outside the kitchen door, his mother's voice called, "Here, Kim! Here, chaps!" This time, he really finished making the bed and smoothed the quilt. It looked very nice. He stood regarding it, thinking that now he must take down his books. His desk was in the corner near the window. It was just a table with a few drawers, and over it hung a wall bracket with 3 shelves. The study books were not the only books on it. There were some fairy books. There was Castle Blair, and what a world that let you into. A whole gang of children that lived in a castle in Scotland. Ken knew it as well as they did. And there was At the Back of the North Wind. And there was... He was just scanning the titles. He sighed deeply. He didn't feel very well, and wondered if perhaps he was going to be sick. Resolutely, he picked out his arithmetic book, sat down, opened it, and began to think. Shorty. Ugly brown Shorty with mops of hair on his hoofs and his forehead, and legs so short his father had said he was built like a dachshund. But he always rides Shorty when there's something hard to do, thought Ken. Howard's got Highboy. Wonder if they're saddled yet. Bet I could do a roundup alone if I could have Shorty. He does it just about all by himself. He always knows better than anybody else where the horses are when you're hunting for 'em. Wonder how he does that. Smells 'em, I guess. And he knows which way they're headed. And he takes a shortcut and gets there ahead of 'em. Wonder why he likes to do that. He's a horse, too, and he ought to be on their side and not help catch 'em. Guess it's like playing tag. Dad says Shorty's the smartest horse on the ranch. But I don't like him. He's kind of mean. I like Banner better. Ken's eyes took on a vacant look as, in imagination, he pictured the big golden chestnut stallion who sired the yearly crop of 20 colts. All the youngsters, 3-year-olds, 2s, yearlings, and now the little foals, were his. Banner was like a king. He had never been ridden, but he and Rob McLaughlin were friends and understood each other. Nell said that until she had come to the West, she had never known how nearly human a stallion could be. Ken had seen his father and Banner standing close, facing each other, Banner's ears taut, his nose stretched out with nostrils distended as they tried to breathe in the very essence of the man they reached for, and his legs stiff and trembling a little. He didn't like to get too close to people. His father's legs were stiff, too, and braced apart, the way he often stood, and his arms were folded, and his round head with the tight curled black hair tilted back, and he talked in a low, even voice that no one but Banner could hear, as if they were making plans. Banner and his father together ran the ranch. Suddenly, Ken heard the sound of horses coming near the house and started up so quickly that the leg of his chair tangled with the leg of the table, and he went sprawling on the floor, then scrambled up and over to the window. There they were. Chaps was along, too. Chaps and Shorty were crazy about each other. Shorty always liked to have Chaps along. Chaps had so much sense. Kim wasn't there. Locked up, probably. He made trouble. He looked like a coyote, and some of the colts were afraid of him. Chaps was jumping up and down right under Shorty's nose, practically under his feet. When he did that, it always looked as if he was nipping his nose. Shorty didn't mind. Perhaps that was their way of kissing. But Banner minded. Chaps had to keep away from the stallion. Ken leaned out of the window as far as he could to see the last of them as they went down the green, just jogged trotting and disappeared around the end of the house. "Ken? What are you doing?" Nell's voice came floating up from the open window below. He scurried back to the table and made it true before he answered. "I'm doing my arithmetic." "What was that crash?" "My chair fell over." "What made it fall over?" It just fell over." Nothing more from Nell, and Ken summoned all his energy and frowned at his open book. He must make a plan. He would do cancellation over. He liked cancellation. It was fun crossing out the figures above and below the line and turning everything into nothing. He hunted for his pad, opened all the drawers, and found it. Then he heard Nell coming up the stairs, and she opened the door. "I was thinking, Ken, it would be a good idea if you spent your study hour on that composition." "The composition?" "Yes, the one you didn't write. If you wrote it nicely, we could send it to Mr. Gibson and tell him how it was you came not to write anything, that you were thinking about it, and he might let you have some credit for it." "The one about the albino. How would I begin it?" "Have you got paper there?" "Yeah." "Well, just pretend you're telling someone about it. Someone who doesn't know. Me, for instance. Perhaps I've forgotten. Who was the albino, anyway?" Ken grinned. "A big white stallion, just a bronc, who came over the border from Montana when they had a drought there. Dad called him a big, ugly devil, but a lot of horse." "That's fine. And what did he do?" "Stole everybody's mares. When they had a spring roundup 6 years later, they caught him. And the whole bunch of mares, and everyone around here found some mares they'd lost. And the albino had taken Gypsy." "Who was Gypsy?" "Dad's polo mare that he had in the army. And he put her in the broodmare bunch, and he was counting on getting a lot of good colts from her." "Yes?" "But the albino stole her, or she ran away to him. And when they caught them both in the roundup, Gypsy was there too, with 4 colts. And Dad brought them all back to the ranch. And the colts were beauties, and fast and strong, but wild as anything. And Dad sold the 2 horse colts and put the fillies in the broodmare bunch. But he never could break them. He said the albino was bad blood, loco. Rocket's one of them. She was the best of the 4. "And what about Gypsy? She's still alive?" "She's 23 years old. She hasn't got many teeth, and she's kind of poor now because she can't chew so well. But she has a colt most every year, and good ones, too." "Now, you see, Ken, that would make a very good composition. And you could call it, The Story of Gypsy." She came to the back of his chair and stood there. "You begin it now, dear." "Oh, the hour's nearly up." "Well, you can finish it tomorrow." Ken sighed and wrote, "The Story of Gypsy," carefully at the top of the paper. Nell went out of the room, and he heard her open the door of the upstairs closet and take the vacuum out of it and go into her own room and begin to sweep the floor. He lifted his head and listened for sounds that came from farther away. How far had they got down the road? How would Banner behave with Shorty around? Stallions didn't like geldings, didn't like anything but mares. Banner. The hovering pencil drew a long horse face, 2 sharp ears on the alert, and began on a wind-tossed mane. Ken tore down the road. He'd take the shortcut. They'd been gone almost an hour, and they were on horseback. He'd meet them about halfway coming back, maybe, and see the whole bunch moving. He'd find a good place and hide so his father wouldn't see him. He trotted along in the irrigation ditch. It was dry because the water hadn't been turned in yet. This way he would avoid the road and the gates. Howard might be stationed at any one of the gates. He kept a sharp lookout. Not a horse in sight anywhere. Now, if I had my horse, he thought, I'd be riding. We could canter along in the ditch here. A tangle of briars and chokecherry bushes grown over the ditch blocked him, and he fought his way through. When the ditch was crossed by the barbed wire fences, he got down on his hands and knees and crawled under. He was winded. He always lost his breath easily when he first came up to the ranch after the winter in Laramie. He slowed down and plodded along. It seemed a long way. He left the ditch and climbed up a hill. From here he could see Gus and Tim working in the ditch in the crooked meadow and could hear their voices. Tim was swinging a pick. The sound of the blow reached him after he saw the pick land. And a mile or more away he could see Castle Rock, the great beetling rock, jutting up 70 feet high with peaks and parapets and turrets shaped like a castle. It overhung the aspen grove at the far end of the meadow. That was where they were, down there near the rock. His father was rounding up the mares with their foals, getting them out of the woods, bringing them back through the meadow slowly. He never ran them. He'd keep them walking slowly all day, let them stop to graze. He said scornful things about riders who galloped and yelled and drove horses on the run. Ken ran down the hill and headed for the big rock. He ran as far as he could, and then stopped to get his wind again and make a calculation. From where he was now, on the grazing land which sloped down to the barbed wire fence around the meadow, he could see the wide gate open and fastened back. That was so the mares could come through up to where he was. There was sort of a road here, and the mares would follow it naturally and stay right on it. It curved north and then east across the grazing land, and then merged with the road that led from the Lincoln Highway to the ranch. Probably his father would take them that way, through the green and the gorge up to the stables, and give them all a feed of oats there before he took them on through the stable pasture and out onto the saddleback. If he could hide somewhere near here where he could keep his eye on the gate, he'd see them pass quite close. He looked about for shelter. Here and there was a jagged outcropping of the pink granite which underlay the soil, here and there a small clump of wild currant bushes. He chose the bushes, dropped down behind one, and sat panting. He could get his wind now. What a lot of time they were taking. He put his head around the bush and looked and listened. There was not a sound, nor could he see any of the mares down in the meadow. They must all be in the aspen grove at the end, hidden by the trees and big rocks. He drew back behind the bush and lay down and suddenly felt very tired and very happy. The report card and the saddle blanket and the study, all the unpleasant things, were behind him. And the grass he was lying on smelled sweet. And he was going to see his father and Banner bring them brood mares and foals up from the meadow. The sky was close, and the blue curved over him. Up here at the ranch you could always see the curve. It wasn't flat. The clouds were solid-looking with definite strange shapes, and the wind was driving them across the sky. In a moment, he was sound asleep. He woke with a jerk, coming up from such a deep place that it seemed he must have slept for hours. He was bewildered and sat up, trying to gather his wits. Then he remembered and scrambled to his feet. Would he be too late? They might have passed while he was asleep. He ran out from behind the bush, head on into the bunch. That's all the time we have for now. Bye.
There you are, boys and girls. Listen next time when Flo Schmid comes your way with a story from the Listening Post.
No, it's time for Captain's Kiss.
Boys and girls, it sounds like we are having a circus on board the good ship Salvation today. That's right, we are. Our friend Uncle Remus brought a circus lion on board with him today.
I couldn't even eat a tough piece of beefsteak.
And the lion wants a tough piece of beefsteak. After a little more circus music, we'll ask him to come and tell us about his circus lion.
Hi, children. This old Uncle Remus, and I got the goodest, bestest telling story for you this time. I hope everybody ready to listen, 'cause this is about a circus lion that got out of the circus and come to live in the great outdoors. In the forest and in the briar patch where Brer Fox and Brer Rabbit was a-living. What a story it gonna be. And the first part of this story commenced the day that the circus was about to leave the town. They done had a big show, and everybody done enjoyed it and everything, and seen the parade and all that. And all of the circus animals was on the train ready to leave, including the giraffes and the hippopotamuses and the rhinoceroses and the giraffes and the zebras and the giraffes and all of them. And everything was ready to go, including the monkeys and the orangutans and the gorillas and everything that they had there. Even the elephants was ready to go. And all of them was on the railroad car ready to pull out of town. And all at once, who would have thunk or thought it? The train come in a jerking, and when it jerked, the last wagon on the train didn't do a thing in the world but roll off and buzz open, and inside of that wagon was a big old circus lion. But it was a circus lion, and it didn't got a tooth in its head. Not one tooth in its whole head. But it looked ferocious, and it had the biggest, loudest growl of any lion anybody that ever heard in the whole wide world, it seemed like, especially when that growl was going on out in the middle of the forest in the nighttime. And old Brer Fox, he heard for the first time that night that he done come home from the hunt, and he was powerful hungry. And his head bone was aching, and his feetses was sore, and he didn't know what to do. And on the way home, he saw little Brer Rabbit right at his front porch step. Little Brer Rabbit. And he caught him. And he grabbed him and carried him in the house, and he was happy as he could be, and went over to the stove and come in as getting ready to cook himself some dinner right then and there. I'm glad I caught you, I know that. Yes, sir. What you gonna do with me? What was I gonna do with you, boy? I was so hungry that I'd eat anything, and here I got a fat, juicy little tender rabbit like you is, and you wanna know what I'm gonna do with you. I gonna eat you, that's what I gonna do with you. And chillin' right then and there, lo and behold, right in the middle of all of that, who would have thunk or thought it? But the whole night blasted with the worst deafening roar of that lion that anybody done ever heard from that day till this. It made such a loud roar that it even knocked the pan off the stove. The vibration of the roar knocked the pan off the stove that old Brer Fox was fixing for to cook the water in. Goodness, I ain't never heard nothing that loud. What was that, Brer Rabbit? Huh? What was that loud roar that I heard? Sound like something horrible done moved into the great outdoors. Oh, that's Grandma. Who? Grandma. Now, wait a minute. You ain't gonna try to tell me that your grandma could make a louder roar as that, so loud that the vibration done shook the stove almost apart. Well, this grandma is one that you never saw. It's big as a house almost. Brer Rabbit, is you pulling my leg trying to tell me there's such thing as a rabbit big as a house? This is a powerful big thing. I know that, this old rabbit is, and he sure will eat you up if you babble with me, so you better turn me on loose and let me go on home, or the first thing you know, you're going to get in a powerful lot of trouble. You better let me go, Brer Fox. No, I ain't going to let you go. I ain't never going to let you go. Let me pick this pan up. We gonna have some rabbit stew this night, whether your grandma is in the forest or no. Grandma. What you mean we gonna have some rabbit stew? We, when I say we, I means me and myself. We gonna have some rabbit stew. That excludes you, 'cause you gonna be the rabbit that go in the stew. So we couldn't hardly have dinner together when you was gonna be the dinner. Let me get this thing started, yet. The fire so is slow to burn. You chillin'? That's the way it was a-going, and old Brer Fox was getting everything ready and setting the table, and poor little Brer Rabbit was scared clean to death. He didn't know what to do. And then all at once, little Brer Rabbit perk up, and he say, "Brer Fox, what is it?"
Suppose you would hear that terrible sound again. Would you believe it was my grandma?
I wouldn't believe that was your grandma if I heard it every 5 minutes. So, boy, get ready for your doom, 'cause you is done, and ain't no grandma's gonna save you. Children, just about that time, who would have thought it, that great big old circus lion where was lost in the woods let go with another one of them terrible, terrific roars. And after he done got through roaring, the whole place was still shaking, and the pan fell off the stove a second time. That's the second time that's happened. I don't know what it is, but it's something terrible and ferocious in the forest.
Please, day in the morning, maybe it done come here to get you.
No, I don't want it to get me.
What's the matter, you scared?
I sure is scared. Answer that door, little Brer Rabbit.
Well, whatever it is might eat me up.
You gonna get eat up anyway. Well, we'll eat you up, I eat you up. Now go on over there and answer the door.
Okay, Brer Fox.
Well, chillin', little Brer Rabbit hippy-hop over, and he pull open the door to answer it, and there stood old Brer Bear. And Brer Bear look right at little Brer Rabbit and blink his eyes, and then he look at Brer Fox, and he say,
"Oh, did you know that there's something horrible and terrible and meandering about in the forest that is diabolical and everything that go with it? I mean, I ain't never seen nothing this bad in my life."
Did you see it?
"Oh, don't you just know I seen it. It looked like as big as an elephant. And it's just as yellow-brown as it can be, and it got teeth almost as big as telephone posts. And when it hollers, the whole ground shakes."
I know, I heard it. What is it?
"I don't know, boy, but I'm leaving these parts from now on and for good. So long, Brer Fox."
And wherever old Brer Fox and the rest of the animals leave, that gonna make the telling for the biggest, bestest story at this same time tomorrow. This Uncle Remus promising to introduce you to the lion in the next installment at the same time tomorrow. Till then, thank you for today. Bless your angel bones, and goodbye, everybody.
Are you afraid of a lion? I am. I wouldn't want to meet one in the dark or in the light either. Even if I knew he didn't have any teeth, can you think of someone in the Bible who was not afraid of lions? He was not afraid of any lion, even vicious ones with teeth. Listen to see if you can guess the right one.
Daniel was a man who loved God. 3 times a day he would kneel by his window and pray to God. Some men hated Daniel because he was a friend of the king. The king had made him the greatest man in the kingdom. These men were jealous. They tried to catch Daniel doing something wrong. They said to each other, "We must find something wrong with Daniel so that we can get rid of him." But finally, the men saw that it was useless. They could find nothing wrong in Daniel's life. At last, they thought of a plan. They went to the king. They said, "Oh, king, you are very great. We want to make a new law to honor you. Make a law that no one can pray to any god for 30 days. The people may only ask you for the things they want. If anyone does pray to a god, he must be thrown into a den of lions." The king thought, "That will make me like a god. So he made the law. Daniel's enemies watched him. They looked through the window and saw him kneel to pray. He still prayed to God 3 times a day. The men hurried to tell the king about this. The king was sorry when he heard it. He wished that he had not made the law because he liked Daniel. He did not want to throw him into a den of lions, but the king had to do what he said. He had made this law. The king sent for Daniel. He said, "Your God, whom you serve, can save you." Daniel was thrown into a den with great roaring lions. The lions were hungry. They walked all around Daniel, but they did not touch him. The king could not sleep all that night. He was thinking about Daniel in the den with the lions. As soon as it was daylight, the king went to the door of the lion's den. He called, "Daniel! Daniel! Did your God save you?" Daniel called back from the lion's den, "Yes, O king. God sent an angel to shut the lions' mouths. They did not hurt me." The men took Daniel out of the lion's den. The king was so happy. He made another law. He said, "The God of Daniel is the real God. Let everyone serve him."
Dare to be a Daniel, dare to stand alone, dare to have a purpose firm, dare to make it known.
Daniel was a man of prayer. Daily prayed he 3 times, till one day they had him cast in the den of lions. Even then, in the den, fears could not alarm him. God just shut the lions' mouths so they could not harm him.
Just like Daniel, you should be faithful to the Savior. There are others standing near, watching your behavior. Trust and pray and obey when life's trials alarm you. God is there to take your hand. Nothing then can harm
was not ashamed of God, and he was faithful to God, even though it meant that he would be thrown to the lions. And those lions were not circus lions that were trained to do tricks. They were fierce, hungry lions, ready to eat anything, even a man. Only God can make us brave like that. What else would we see at a circus besides lions and other animals? Yes, clowns. Our next story is about the clown who cried.
The Clown Who Cried. The greatest show on earth, the circus, has come to town. Barb and Bud sit in the bleachers under the big top, eating peanuts and popcorn, while they watch with awe the artistry of the man on the flying trapeze, the lion taming act, and the flying acrobats. Then comes the moment everyone is waiting for. All eyes turn to the entranceway to watch the comical approach of the funniest man alive, the clown.
Hey, Bud, look at those baggy pants he's wearing with red pants.
Isn't he funny? Barb, look at those great big floppy shoes.
Oh, what a funny face. I never seen such a funny face.
That's not his real face, Barb. That's painted on.
Oh, look at, he fell flat on
his face. You know, Barb, that was the best circus I ever saw.
And that clown, boy, it must be wonderful to be a clown.
Yeah, always making people laugh.
I guess it's about the happiest life there is, being a clown in the circus.
Look, Barb.
What?
There goes the clown into his tent.
Boy, I'd like to see him up close.
Let's ask him to autograph our programs. Come on.
I'm Barb, Mr. Clown.
I'm Bud.
Well, it's nice of you to drop into my tent to see me, kids.
We liked your act. Boy, it was swell.
It sure was wonderful. We thought maybe you'd sign your name on our programs.
Oh, surely. Here, I'll be glad to.
There.
Boy, I think the circus is wonderful. Do they ever have lady clowns?
Not usually, no.
I wish I could be a clown. I think being a clown in the circus is the happiest life there is.
Thanks for signing our programs, Mr. Clown.
That's all right. I'm glad to do it, children.
Next year when the circus comes to town, we'll be on the front row to watch you make the people laugh.
Well, I hate to disappoint you, Barb, but I'm afraid I've made the people laugh for the last time.
What do you mean?
Today's my last performance. I've done my act for the last time. I'm putting away my clown suit, and when I wipe off this grease paint in a few minutes, it'll be forever.
You mean you won't be a clown anymore? You're leaving the circus forever?
Yeah, I'm through. I'm through today.
But why? All the people will miss you so. I guess you're the funniest, happiest man alive.
Possibly the funniest, but far from the happiest. I thought that making people laugh was the best rent I could pay for the space I occupy in this world. I thought what the world needed more than anything else was a good laugh. The bright lights, the crowds, the applause. I thought I had everything it takes to make the funniest man alive happy, but I sure was wrong.
You're crying.
Yeah, I've learned to cry a lot lately. Even as I stand up before the people, making them laugh. My own heart is breaking, and it's pretty hard to keep back the tears. But the paint helps. It's kind of hard for the people to see the tears through the makeup, so they never guess that the funniest man alive has a broken heart.
Why are you... What happened, Mr. Clown?
Well, I had a little boy. He was all I had in the world. He was a bright, happy little fella. I wanted him to have the best. He was learning to do a stunt on the tightrope. Last week he fell. He broke his neck. We took him to the hospital. He died in just a few days. I needed strength. I needed courage to go on, comfort, but I had none. The memory of 1,000,000 laughing voices brought no comfort. 20 years of applause gave me no courage. And suddenly I realized that if I had nothing to see me through a time of sorrow, certainly I had nothing to give to other people. Somehow I just feel like my whole life has been wasted. But there was a minister in the hospital the night my little boy died. He said some words to me. Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I'll give you rest. I asked him who said those words, and he told me about the Lord Jesus, and told me how he could save and heal and comfort. Well, that's about it, children.
What will you do now, Mr. Clown?
I don't know yet. I want to spend the rest of my life telling a sin-sick, troubled old world of the one who can save them from their sins and make them really feel better, help them to know what real happiness is all about.
The crowd learned that Jesus could change his tears to joy when he trusted him as his Savior. Jesus loved us so much that he was willing to die in our place.
Let's be sunbeams for Jesus.
Ephesians 4:31 and 5:2. Let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and evil speaking be put away from you with all malice. And walk in love, as Christ also had loved us and had given himself for us an offering and a sacrifice to God for a sweet-smelling savor. Love in action. Carol was distracted all during the Sunday school lesson. Mrs. Tracy, her teacher, noticed that her eyes were red and swollen as if she had been crying. After school, Mrs. Tracy approached her. "Carol, do you have a problem? Anything I can do to help?" she asked. "Oh, Mrs. Tracy, my mom and dad have big problems," Carol confided. "Dad packed his clothes and left last night. He said he was never coming back. What can I do, Mrs. Carol? I love my dad and I want him to come home. Mom is so sad because she loves Dad too." Mrs. Tracy hugged Carol and they talked about her problem. Together, they prayed for Carol's parents and also for wisdom for Carol. "I think the most important thing you can do besides pray for your folks is to show through your action that you love them," said Mrs. Tracy. "Put some feet on your love. I know the situation hurts you, and one of the best ways to help yourself is to help others. You know your mother hurts too. If you can stay a little longer, I'll give you some suggestions of how you can help her." When Carol went home, she had several ideas of what she could do. After dinner, she cleared the table. She encouraged her younger brother to change from his Sunday clothes into play clothes. She helped her mother with the dishes. Days turned into weeks and weeks into months, and Carol continued to put feet on her love, as Mrs. Tracy had said. "Carol, you've been such a help to me since your father left," Mother said one day. "You've made my life so much easier. Even though you're young, you've taken some of the burden of running this house off my shoulder." As Mother gave Carol a big hug, Carol was thinking, Mrs. Tracy was right. Helping Mom helped me most of all. It made me feel so much better, and it's really good to know that it pleased God too. How about you? When things get tough at your house, do you mope around and feel sorry for yourself? That only makes you and everyone else more miserable. Next time things go wrong at home, try putting feet on your love. Help mom with the dishes and help care for your younger children. Take care of trash and give dad the newspaper. Help keep family peace and unity by playing the games your brother and sister want to play. You'll be happier as you follow God's command to walk in love. God will be pleased too. Ephesians 5:2. And walk in love as Christ also had loved us and has given himself for us.
Precious, precious blood of Jesus shed on Calvary, shed for rebels, shed for sinners, shed for me. Precious, precious blood of Jesus, all the price is paid. Perfect pardon now is offered, peace is made. Precious, precious blood of Jesus, Jesus, God's own Son, telling that the work is finished, all is done. Though thy sins are red like crimson, deep in scarlet glow, Jesus' precious blood can make them white as snow.
Yes, the Lord Jesus Christ was willing to give his life's blood for us. What wonderful love! We should love him and give our whole lives to him. Will you decide to give yourself to him today? Don't put it off. Tomorrow might be too late. If you need us to pray for you and help you, write to us here at
Captain's Kids, Harbour Light of the Windwards, Carriacou, Grenada. Captain's Kids, Harbour Light of the Windwards, Carriacou, Grenada.
This is your teacher Francine, and I have enjoyed our voyage together today. See you next time with all the Captain's Kids. Goodbye.
Yeah.